And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Hockey Night on Broad Flyers pregame show. Tonight, the Philadelphia Flyers are back home on this Saturday night of NHL action as they meet up with the Anaheim Ducks as they meet for the second and final time this season. And a pleasant good evening, everybody. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you. Joining me once again for the next 15 minutes or so. As the Flyers, like I said, on Thursday night, still trying to look for answers after a disappointing outing on Thursday night let me try this again. After a disappointing outing on Thursday night against the Dallas Stars on the Ed Snider Legacy game, the Flyers are going to try to bounce back after trying to get back on the right foot here and trying to begin. Well, the last couple of weeks haven't been easy for the guys in orange and black, but for now, trying to get back on the right foot, especially here tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. And like we always do before we get into our program here tonight, we always talk about the recap of the previous game like we always do. And like we always do, the Flyers looking to try to find some answers. They haven't won a game in the new year in 2025 and still trying to find that answer tonight. But let's go into the recap of the previous game as they always do. So not 2 minutes into the game, the Flyers are going to try to get off to a good response here, but it did not take long for the Dallas Stars to get on the board early as Stars defenseman Matt Dumba got a pass over to tip. I believe it was Sam Steele or Maverick Bjork, said it basically said that it was Bjork's goal, and he got credit for the goal to give the Dallas Stars an early 1-0 lead. Later on in the first period, at the halfway point of the first period, as it was approaching, and it was Stars forward trying to get the second goal of the game, and they find it right there for Rope Hintz, set on a pass by Evgeny Dabinov to give the Stars a 2-0 lead after 20. But to the second period we go. The Flyers were trying to not the Flyers were trying to buzz. It was more like the Dallas Stars were buzzing in the period. And around the 11-minute mark, it was more the same as it was for the first period for the Dallas Stars. And this time it was Wyatt Johnston giving Dallas a comfortable 3-0 lead and would stay that way after 40. To the third period, the Flyers looked like they never really got it going on this night, and it was Casey Smith who has been the successful goaltender. Obviously, you think about Jake Oninger, who's been playing very, very fantastic for the Stars, and this night, Casey Smith doing whatever he can to make sure that a shutout was going to be brewing, but the Flyers will get on the board, but that was not enough on this very night as it made it 3-1. But Dallas will get one more out of it and will make it a 4-1 Dallas Stars victory and a win for the Stars in South Philly at the Wells Fargo Center. 4-1 the final that night inside the Wells Fargo Center. So let's setting the stage for tonight's matchup as the Flyers are going to try to get back on track. As like I said, the Flyers, after a disappointing road trip that did not go their way, have had some cause for concerns, and something like this that has to do with some teams that are in playoff contention and teams that are not in playoff contention, especially here tonight in South Philly. So this is another good task here. So usually the Flyers play very well against teams that are not in playoff contention. So I expect more of the same here tonight against a team that is still trying to find their footing. Obviously, there is still a team that's looking to find their footing and trying to figure out what they have in store for the upcoming second half of the season after the Four Nations series coming up in the late February marks. That's coming up in the next couple weeks or so, right around February or so. So the Flyers will get a much-needed, not want to say a much-needed day off or a much-needed week off. It's a couple weeks off to try to reboot and also do whatever they can to make sure it happens, but that's coming before you know it. But as for the Flyers tonight, looking to try to get their first win, like I mentioned, here in 2025, and right now they are on the approach of losing their fifth straight game if they don't win tonight, and that will be only the second time this season that the Flyers lost more than 4 games on this night. And as for the Anaheim Ducks is concerned, it's the return of a prospect that didn't want to be a Flyer the last couple years in Cutter Gauthier. And the last time these two clubs played against each other, it felt like the Flyers basically got him packing. Obviously, did not do very, very well that night against the Flyers, and it was a good debut for, not a good debut, but a good return for Gauthier to take on his former club, and he was in the penalty box for the most of the part. And obviously, the good news is that the Flyers kept him in check. But for the Flyers front, though, it could be a lot better on the offensive defensive front and have that same level of tenacity tonight. On a better outing for the Flyers will be a better outcome for the first win of 2025. And also maybe for the first time this season, setting the former Flyers prospect in Gauthier home packing. So that's going to be one of the key matchups of this game tonight. So let's check out who's trending up and who's trending down on this night. For who's trending up on the very night here on this Saturday night of NHL hockey, not one of the best games that the Flyers had all season long, but there's not a lot to say about who's trending up in the right direction. You can think about Travis Konecny, who's been trending up, and also like Noah Cates, who was trending up, and even Tyson Forster here and there. But for me tonight, the Flyers have to find a way to find one step further to be starting trending up in a better direction than they had all of the last couple games against teams that are in 500, that are above 500, and also better in playoff contention. And last Thursday night against the Dallas Stars, it was a disappointing outing that, like I said, they did not get. It just felt like the game just got ahead of them, and somehow in some way, games like that, like, they're not a cause. Well, they are a cause for concern, but they're not like something to worry about. But at the same time, you want to do whatever you can to make sure that the teams that you're playing against, especially teams that are above 500 and also over the 500 mark, and even more so that are even at the top of that are ahead in the playoff contention, you have to do a better job controlling that as the night goes on too. But like I said, but for who's trending down, it was a very, very disappointing outing for the Flyers on Thursday night on the Ed Snider Legacy game, where they honored the Great Late and basically the guy that brought Flyers hockey to the core that the Flyers had in this game, and not seeing the Flyers play to the level of Ed Snider. We'll call that down. Well, if Ed Snider saw this game on Thursday night, will be a disappointment. He'll be nothing short of disappointment rather, seeing the Flyers play like this. And that obviously, it was a very good tribute to him early on in before puck drop, as three former great Flyers were on that ceremonial puck drop, as it was Paul Holmgren, Kimmo Timonen, and the one that dropped the puck was Wayne Simmons. That were there all for that Ed Snider appreciation, the Ed Snider Legacy game on Thursday night. But like I said, it was not a good outing. So if you want to get off on the right foot tonight, especially these next games coming up against Florida and Columbus of a back-to-back, Florida coming into this game, especially losing a game that could have been in the bag today. Obviously, they lost one. They tied the game late with only less than 2 seconds left to go in regulation, and then they lost the game with less than 1 second remaining in overtime against the Boston Bruins. So the Panthers come into town on Monday night, and then they'll be going right up to Columbus after the game for the second game of a back-to-back. And also, after the game tonight against the Flyers, after this game will be the last game against the Panthers, and then they'll be on the road, this time an Eastern road trip against the Islanders and Devils to end the week around the week of January 16th and the 18th. So the Islanders will be on the 18th it's the 16th, January 16th. That's when the Flyers will take on the Islanders on that night, and then they'll be going to Newark, New Jersey, the Rock, to take on the New Jersey Devils for the first game. That will be a matinee action, and also that'll be the first time we'll see the Flyers take on teams that are in the Eastern Conference and also in that Metropolitan for the first time this season, and the Islanders and Devils. Hard to believe they haven't seen each other yet, But we'll see those outings. Like I said, the Islanders on the 16th. That's next Thursday. And then it will be the Devils in matinee action at Prudential Center next Saturday at the Rock in Newark, New Jersey. All right, let's check out who's our injuries and scratches for this game tonight. But there is a lot more injuries in this game. Not injuries, but more scratches in this game tonight as we get closer and closer to puck drop. For the injury front, like always, it was Nick Delorier with an upper body injury, still dealing with nursing that injury. And I expect him to, I hopefully will see him come back very, very soon. But he's been nursing that injury for quite some time now, so he's still out with that upper body injury. And for the scratches of the game tonight, it will be Joe Farabee who's going to be scratched tonight's game. Obviously, this is like a broken record here, but Eric Johnson's a healthy scratch once again. And Alexei Kolosov is the healthy scratch, so I'm pretty sure they will keep two goaltenders, and Sam Ersson and Ivan Fedotov and also keep Kolosov if he wants to for that emergency goaltender situation. All right, let's check out our starting goaltender matchup for this game between the Flyers and Ducks tonight in South Philly. For the Flyers tonight, it will be Sam Ersson in goal once again for the Flyers after, like I mentioned millions of times on this podcast, that I say that it was a disappointing outing once again for Sam Ersson on Thursday night after coming off the injury that he suffered during the last couple weeks, and it was his first game, one of his first games back, and he did not look very well. He was 9, and also his record this season is 9-7-2, and has a goals against average of 3.02. And for the Anaheim Ducks, like it was at the first meeting of the first game of the season between the Flyers and Anaheim, it is Lucas Dostal who will be in goal tonight for the Anaheim Ducks. Has a similar record to Sam Ersson. He is also 2 games under 500, and this season he's also 10-12-3 this season, and has a goals against average of 2.93. So Ersson for the Flyers and Dostal in goal for the guys in Anaheim. So for me, for my predictions in this game tonight, I hope to see a win. I would like to see a Flyers win here tonight. I would love to see a team that really between me and you, I'm not a big fan of the Anaheim Ducks. Obviously, they talk about the years that they had with the Mighty Duck days and all that. This is a different team, obviously, than it was with Paul Kariya and also Teemu Selanne. But it always feels like that orange that really sticks in my craw with this team is because they always have that same kind of level of orange that the Flyers have. I mean, it's kind of like you can dare you say gimmick infringement, but at the same time, it's one of those things that it makes me kind of annoyed. But, at the same time, it's going to be kind of confusing who's going to be the team is orange and black, and who's obviously the Flyers are orange and black. And the Ducks are orange and black, so it's going to be kind of confusing who's orange and black, and who's the Ducks and who the Flyers are. But we all know the Flyers are orange and black. But at the same time, Anaheim's like one of those teams. I mean, back then I would always say I was a big fan of them. I always liked Paul Kariya. I always thought that Teemu Selanne was a really good player. There's a lot of good players that they have on this team now that could be a good odds-on favorite, not to mention Cutter Gauthier, but they're moving in the right direction. Troy Terry's one of those players you got to keep a close eye on tonight, and also keep a close eye on for maybe Jacob Trouba, who got traded to the Ducks early on in the season as a member of the New York Rangers, and also they got Frank Vetrano, who, by the way, I gotta say right now, if the Flyers could go after a guy like Frank Vetrano in the trade deadline, maybe it'll give them a little bit of a boost going forward, because I can understand the Ducks are trying to rebuild and also trying to bring in players that are young and fast, but at the same time, the Flyers are looking to try to find some assets as well as we get closer and closer to the game here tonight. And like I said, I hope the Flyers finally get a good win here tonight against the Ducks, and that should be really the big thing I take out of this game tonight, because, it's one of those games that you have to obviously I won't say the word that you have to play teams that are on your schedule that are scheduled wins, but this could be a game to finally break that camel's back, to finally get off on the right foot tonight, especially against a team that is under the 500 mark and also on the outside looking in as we get closer and closer to puck drop here. And so I say the Flyers hopefully will win tonight and get a good outing out of it tonight by both either like Jamie Drysdale will finally get something going here tonight, or maybe one of the key players like I said, like Travis Konechny or Tyson Forster or even Noah Cates getting back where they were before the new year and also at the beginning points of the new year as well. All right, that's going to wrap this show up for now. That is a wrap for the Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show. But remember to stay tuned after the game for the Third Line John Flyers postgame show with yours truly and also Joe Marks and Pat Bernard immediately after the game goes final. So that is on Stream Punk Entertainment right after the game. So stay tuned for the Third Line John postgame show. I will be back on Monday night for the last home game before the Flyers head on the road on this time on the The Flyers will be going on the road again for the first time, this time in the East Coast edition, and this time as they will take on, like I mentioned early on, the Islanders, and then, the Columbus Blue Jackets for the first game of that one, and then they'll be playing the Islanders, and then they'll be playing the Devils to begin that Eastern road trip, and I'll be back for the last game for the Flyers home game for maybe a couple more weeks as they take on the Florida Panthers at 7 o'clock here at the Wells Fargo Center. I will be back at 6:30 for the pregame show and puck drop immediately at 7 o'clock in South Philadelphia between the Flyers and the Panthers. Well, that will wrap things up for here tonight. But this has been the Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show, and I said, remember to stay tuned after the game for the Third Line John Flyers postgame show immediately when the game goes final. Until then, this has been the Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show, and I'm James Scorza saying so long from here, and until then, we will see you next time.